So, NewsNation's learned former President Trump's planning to sue the Department of Justice for $100 million. That's what he says. Now, he's alleging in a legal memo, quote, malicious prosecution and abusive process resulting from the August 8th, 2022 raid on his and his family's home, Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach, Florida. Trial attorney, legal analyst Misty Marris is here on this. When I saw this, Misty, and this is why we bring you in, I said, come on, this is nonsense. This case has already, first of all, been dismissed, and he's just looking to get attention on it and say they're all out to get him. But what about the legal issues? Does he have any kind of a case here to make?
Right. So keep in mind, this is a civil case, and that's why this was a very interesting legal theory. So first of all, this is a memo. It hasn't been filed in court yet.
Right,
That's
so it's not a lawsuit.
Right. When you sue a government agency, you have to put them on notice first. So this is a precursor. So within 6 months, this could actually become a lawsuit. But here's where this particular legal theory really falls flat. This is all based on that Mar-a-Lago raid. We know that's August 2022. But in order for a raid to occur, there has to be an independent sign-off by a federal judge. So basically, law enforcement goes, they say, we have probable cause that the items that we're looking for, in this case, these presidential records, are located in this location, Mar-a-Lago, and then a judge makes that determination.
Right.
So oftentimes that will, when it comes down to a search and seizure, a similar type of legal argument, that will really put the kibosh on it, so long as the information that was provided to the judge was correct.
It was signed off on the judge, so it was all in the up and up if that's the case. So that's a much better explanation than the one that I was looking at that I thought was going to be the issue here. I'm a little more simple. I read it, and like you said, it's not a lawsuit. And then right away I read they have 6 months to respond and said the election's in November. So they're going to take more than 6 months, and everybody's going to forget about this whole thing. And there's an appeal going on, so it'll probably be a moot point.
You're absolutely right, because keep in mind, so say Trump wins the election. Well, now he's the head of the Department of Justice, right? So is he really going to move forward with this lawsuit? But Connell, from a legal perspective, if I'm getting into the minds of the why here, because it's unlikely to have any result, much less $100 million be the outcome of this case.
Right.
But what these acts do trigger, basically this notice and potentially a lawsuit, is the exchange of information and discovery. And so I'm wondering if part of Trump's motivation with his lawyer is to dig into documents and information that could have served as the basis for these lawsuits, and maybe that's just another avenue to pursue to get some other information out in the public sphere. Perhaps it's a little bit less legal and a little bit more political.
Because you were talking about the judge having signed off, in the memo, we can put it up, that they talk about the Attorney General and the FBI Director. The memo from the Trump folks, here it is, say Garland and Wray should have never approved a raid and subsequent indictment of President Trump because the well-established protocol with former U.S. presidents is to use non-enforcement means to obtain records of the United States. Is there something there that we should be interpreting?
Well, here's the legal argument, right? So on one hand, it's that this was all malicious prosecution, meaning for political purpose, and it was done intentionally. So the government knew there wasn't really anything here.
And they were just out to get him.
Just out to get him.
Right.
The other piece of it is that's piece of the argument is that they deviated from their typical protocols in order to achieve their goals.
And there's no evidence of that.
None that has come out into the forefront. So now what the Trump team is using, and look, they're crafting a very novel legal argument, because they're using Judge Cannon's dismissal of the classified records case as an argument as to why this was a malicious prosecution. But keep in mind, that happened after, right? The raid was first, a judge signs off, and now this case is dismissed. However, it's not dismissed on merits, Connell. It's dismissed on process, that the special counsel was not properly appointed, and that violated constitutional procedure.
And that's all being appealed by Jack Smith.
Yes.
Right? So then that process has to play out.
And so that appellate process has to play out. So it's almost using the outcome of that appeal as evidence of the underlying misconduct. So it's maybe a novel legal argument, maybe a clever way to get it out there, but realistically, from the perspective of what we see with this case, probably doesn't really have legs.
Yeah, I think that usually, well, you did explain it better than me, but I think my original crackpot kind of argument makes the most sense. We're never going to hear anything about this.
Yeah, that's probably true.
It's going nowhere.
Right.
Thank you, Misty.
Thank you.
Good to see you. The great Misty Marris. All right.